Egg. Egg. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, all right. Wait, is it working? Kinda, but my mouth doesn't work good. Hold on a second, everybody. This is weird. I'll be back, don't worry. Just give me a bit. This is so weird though, isn't it? I have to restart some things. The Yuri has broken my mouth. I'm too speechless by all the beautiful love between women, you know? I was reading a Yuri manga during the countdown, so it checks out. Ba ba ba. Time to not help girls kissing. Girls holding hands. I wanna do that, dude. Where? Ba 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 ba. Okay, alright, should be good now. Ba 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 ba. Okay, cool. Almost back. Ba 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 ba. Yes. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hi. I'm back now. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Yuri alert. Yes. Yes. The Yuri manga I'm reading is Kaze-san 8 and 8. It's usually just called Kaze-san. It's a series that has been going for a while. I really like it. It's what's unique. I mean, it starts off as like pretty standard like Yuri manga, which is just like two girls in high school, but they're at university, or are they at university, or academy? What do they call it again? I think it's university. They say. She names it at the beginning. I always get them all confused all the time. All these fucking higher educations. Name it. Where are you? What are you doing? University, yes. So it's really fun. You actually like get to see them grow up together. It's nice, you know? You're just like, oh man, we're in high school. Will we fall in love or not? We will. The end. And it's like, come on. And then what? You know? And this one just has some like graduate together and then move to Tokyo together and stuff. I very much like it. And the current this one is really fun because one of the two meets like a celebrity that she like has known all her life, and she's like really like starstruck and stuff, and then her girlfriend is like worried, like, oh no, I'm jealous, oh no, and then she gets to know the dude better, and he's like kind of a dick to her. So it's like, oh, there's nothing, you don't have to worry about anything. It's fun. I like it a lot. There's an Amogus on stream. Please fix this. There's an Amogus on stream. Oh, I see. Yeah. No, I will not fix it. This is resistance training for you. I fucking love Kaze-san. Me and my partner have a bunch of custom Discord emojis based on it. That is so good. Hi Ali. That is so cute. I love that. No, don't say too much, Polo Stars. I'm not done yet. I haven't finished it yet. I'm still reading. But yeah, I think it's so cute and so good. The emotes also throw Ellie, yeah, because Ellie is in there. So yeah, I was reading that. It's very good. I like it a lot. I got this issue recently in the mail. I think it's the longest running Yuri manga that I have physically. Probably. Whisper Me in a Love Song is the second one. It's one behind. But the longest running one that I have is that's not Yuri is Yotsuba, because Yotsuba is the best thing ever. Yotsuba is so good. I love Yotsuba. Anyway, hi gang, good evening. It's time for Splatoon. We're gonna continue Side Order. I started it quite a while ago. Oops. And also I was late with starting it. Oops. But I was able to continue it before today because I had to cancel one stream, and then the other one I just wanted to hang out with Melanie, so I did that instead. But it was still Splatoon, so that's something, you know. But today we will be continuing it, and I'm very excited to chat it up while doing probably just like one more run. I'm sure we'll beat it, you know. And then see more gay shit. Yay! I'm so excited. Honestly, Kaze-san feels like it was spinning its wheels on the jealousy bit. Yamada was a bit too passive. Moving in thing really quick. Wait, hello! I'm not done reading yet! I just said that. You guys. I am so good at video games, thank you. We're gonna clear this in 5 minutes, short stream time. Agreed, exactly. We'll be done before you know it. Just here to deliver Zoe your daily car battery. Oh no, that's okay. You don't have to do that. That's all right. Please sign here. Okay. I signed. Why? I don't know why I did that. That seems not in my best interest. Because it's so finally understands Yuri's side of the force and beats. Wait, hang on. No, I believe I can push you.
Car battery!
Ah! Ow! How do you play this game? Oh, cool! I got some pearls. Oh yeah, the fact that they're called pearls, the currency is called pearl, is so good. How do you do the first? Oh, there we go. You're such a little thingy thing. Whoa. Alright, let's get to it. Hi, Marina. Hey, I have even more hacks ready to deploy now. Take a look. Alright, let's see. Broken armor speed. Oh, that would be useful, actually, because I am not that good. Floor reset. Enables you to reset to offered floor types and rewards. Also interesting. But no, I'm here for a challenge or something, you know? Lets me out. Good luck in the tower, Zoe. Thank Leopoldus, and thank you for the car battery. It'll give me the energy I need. Double chip, right. Drone gauge splat charge. Unlocks color chips that increase the drone gauge by defeating enemies. That sounds useful. I'll get that one. For those who weren't here for the first Side Order stream and also haven't seen the game before, it's a roguelike. And so you get currency called pearls. This is a virtual world created by Marina, by the way, but it's been taken over by a hostile AI. Classic. We love sentient AI. That's me or something. Anyway, that's and it's a very gay, and that's the story, I think. Also, a bunch of people are like getting dragged into it and stuff, or at least like their consciousness. That's why we're here. I will kill AI. I will kill the real life thing of what is like generative AI right now. I am fighting on the side of fictional AI that is fun and interesting. Like a color chip that let the pearl drone generate items. It also sounds pretty neat. Weaken enemies. Enemies on normal floors up to 10F and easy floors up to 20F. It always bothers me that the F is at the end, because it's not 10 floor, it's floor 10, right? Isn't that weird? Anyway, oh, reveal the boss. That's kind of I don't know. I don't know how useful that is per se. But I will get the weaken enemies one because that seems very useful. That's right, Arizwell, you're the best, the one and only. That's fucking right. I'm amazing. I'm the coolest. I'm the coolest.
Egg.
And let's get some more membucks because that means we can upgrade more. Oh, right, eggs. I forgot. I really gotta get on that automatic egg thing. Clone, are you in chat? What was the last thing we had on the progress on that? I don't remember. Did I have to do something? Did you have to... Did we have to do anything? The egg sound? Right, we're working on that. Okay, can you... That's the last thing I had. Okay, so was it something I had to do? Can you DM me with like whether or not I had to do something or what? And I'll do it after the stream, please. Let's go to the eggs. All right, it is time to do the eggs. So, also thank you, Clone. Thank you, I appreciate you so much. So, if you have but one little owl, you can't just say perchance. Yes, you can. F. If you have but one little point, you can already spend it on an egg, which will be placed on the screen, and so we can, through communism, stack a bunch of eggs on top of one another. My hair is. There we go. Here we go. Beep. Oh my gosh! It's time for the eggs! Starting with Vex Fidel! Green Clone! Wow, I was just talking to them a moment ago. They're so cool. Zero Elec! Polar Stars! Rootsatera! Lucina of Stardust! Sequar! Kirakat! Melzanoff! Dynalope! Hi Jody, can Jody get a shout out? Mega Fox Girl! Jody is also on stream here pretty frequently, but you should also go check out her own stream. Fire Golza! Happy birthday to Fire Golza! Inkling Zero! That's the first one! Esteemed Jester! Wibless! Durangar! And starting the second X stack, Leopoldius. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the starting eggs today, gang. And I will also take a starting sippy. And I will take another sippy. Thank you so much. I'm feeling so hydrated, which is important because I am a shark girl. So it's very important for me to stay hydrated. Vex Vidal, more like eggs Vidal. Got him. All right, let's see. I don't imagine there's much we can buy with 20 pearls. There's nothing, in fact. Oh, I forgot to do a thing. Beep. Hello. I am now delayed and therefore should be in sync with the game. Oh, I'm reacting too late to this now. Wow. Oh no. Oh. Anyway, let me know how in sync this is. So I'm going to jump in game, which is this button. Yes. And you guys tell me whether or not it's in sync, or at least not terribly out of sync. Now. 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 Okay, sounds like it's good. I'm so glad. I'm glad it's sunken.
Hey, where am I?
Wow! You're right here, Amy Rose. You're in the cyber world. Your change spots with plus you can test them out here. Once you're ready, you can go in anytime, mate. Right? Good morning, Train Green. Let's see. Did we do this one last time? I feel like I wanted to do that one next time, and it's next time, so we're gonna do it now.
Egg.
Call it a basin for holding water, used for holding water because it's synced, boss. Thank you. Hold on, I have to actually real quick move, oops, move this here. Sorry, I'm doing some extra maintenance and stuff that I have to do if I'm doing a capture card stream. Terrain, thank you very much for your egg. And Lucina of Stardust initiated YURI Defender.exe. Apply Omega to head when ready. You got it. I have to change my monitor again for that. Omega is the strongest ally. Good. Omega will kill all Eggman robots and also bigots. We'll climb this spire as many times as it takes. That's right, look out, Order, we're gunning for you.
Car battery!
Oh! Ow. That is so funny. For some reason when I like come back, I go down and then come back up when I'm delayed. There's like a moment where I'm like not delayed or something. It's weird. It's funny. Let's see. Drone Color Wheel, that is a good one because it's just sort of like passive attacking. But like cooldown, sure, not bad. Ink damage, not bad at all. But I think we'll start with the Killer Whale since that's sort of, I know, that's just nice to have like another attack, you know? Gosh, that's a lot of floors. So how do you play Splatoon? It's been a while. And by a while, I mean pretty much exactly a week. Give Pearl something to do. She needs enrichment. Yeah, exactly. So what am I doing here? Oh, right, it's a ball one. Okay. Okay, so that's gonna be one. Yes, it is. It's gonna kill you. Nope. And that's easy. Well, that is easy. I know it said that it was an easy one, but that was maybe a little bit too easy. Come on. Did you notice that this is Marina's weapon and its primary chip is for Pearl drones? No, I didn't. That is awesome. That is so good. I love how gay they are. Unless a Pearl drone, geez, we had that one already, right? Having 2 or more of this chip, color chip, reduces the required points accordingly. That, I mean, yeah, might as well while we're at it. It's so Yuri to make a robot for your girlfriend and then to support that robot so much. And Glorpian23, thank you very much for following. Welcome. A Pearl only run. I wonder if you could, like, just like you don't fight. It's just Pearl. You're just running around the stage and stuff. Also learned that your color chips affect your ink color. Oh, I see that. That is so cute. Also, wow. That is so neat that like the combination of your chips create the color of your ink. Cause I was talking with Jody Dunlop after after last stream, how the color palette here is really quite I mean, it's intentionally very uniform and desaturated and stuff. Monochrome, even, you might say. And that even your own ink kind of gets lost in it. But the idea that the ink actually changes based on your ink, or your palette, that changes things. That is very, very good. And your hair color too. That's so fun! I love that, actually. That is really good. Oh, this one's super hard. But it does increase Pearl's drone gauge, which is funny because I don't think she's done anything yet. But you know what? Let's do it. So glad Marina uses a gay little umbrella just like me. Lesbians be prelling. I know, right? I also love the umbrella. That's also my weapon of choice. That and the split dualies. Okay. Let's get. God forbid gay squids do nothing. It doesn't have to. I'm not saying she has to do something. I'm just saying it's funny that it's like I have this build for her to do stuff and then she hasn't done anything yet. It's not bad, it's just funny. Uh-oh. Hey, this ain't looking so good. Hey, Pearl. Okay. Well, she did something. It sure is tougher than it looks. Oh, you're making it go up to, like, you're pulling the plug from it. Do you see that? That is good. Uh-oh. Okay. I'm just gonna try to kite them a little. See, now Pearl's being very, very good. MVP. Very important Pearl. No, I mean most. Wait, what is it? Most valuable Pearl. Took me a second. I got there. Hold on. I'm not in a great position to use the gyro controls, actually. I'm going to main the mini Splatling once I get my inky fingers on it. I like the mini Splatling. I'm not that good with it, I feel. Or maybe I'm very good with it. It was one of the two, I forgot. I wonder how good it is in this mode, though. I could just keep upgrading the Killer Will, I guess. Just gonna keep doing that. We're doing a meme run. This'll go well. I'm sure that our lack of good weapon stats and stuff it'll be good. I'm sure it won't bite us in the ass when, like, there's no enemies to fight in order to charge the killer whale meter, you know? I'm sure that won't matter at all. Get him! Get him! Yeah, that's useful. Nice job, Pearl. Nice job! That wasn't Pearl, but still, nice job. Sensors indicate sarcasm. What are you talking about? I would never! I don't even know what that is. Meme and meta are only 2 letters apart, that's true. And they both include me. I like to feel included. Let's see. Increases chances of enemies dropping this piece, gets me into Pearl drones. Step off song will temporarily close portals. Right, that is useful, but I'm gonna do this one anyway. So we get a pearl bonus if we beat this one. Hey, by the way, speaking of Yuri, y'all seen the anime Whisper Me a Love Song? I mentioned it earlier, the manga of it that I've also been reading for a while. It's been getting an anime, and I am surprisingly conflicted about it. What am I doing? Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, right? Because it is a very good adaptation of the manga. It's being very faithful. It's very cute. I like the vocal performances. And at the same time, there's something I've realized since Scott Pilgrim takes off, which is that I don't know how much I care for faithful adaptations of things anymore. I obviously care for good adaptations of things. Oh, nice. But it doesn't have to be faithful. Like, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is a fantastic adaptation, goddammit. But it is completely different from the source material. And so I'm like, do I need to see an anime adaptation of a manga if it's just going to be the same thing? I also really like the Dungeon Meshi adaptation, but I am just going into every episode being like, yeah, they did all that stuff that I know. I don't know. Isn't my time spent better engaging with media that I don't know yet? I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I don't know, it's less interesting, I guess. Like, I'm watching every new episode just being like, oh, they're gonna do this stuff. That'll be fun. I'm not, like, wondering what's gonna happen. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's not a big thing. But, like, the creator of Scott Pilgrim, Brian Lee O'Malley, on Scott Pilgrim Takes Off really says, like, if you wanna know the original story, the comics are right there, you know? Sometimes an unfaithful adaptation can fix some of the flaws the thing had. That's true. That is also true. It feels a different need. A little. I mean, there are people that, like, wouldn't engage with a piece of media at all if it was only the comic book version, for example. Let's do firing speed. Like, it's an accurate adaptation is better than a bad adaptation, obviously. So I'm not, like, mad about it, but I guess I just get more excited about something like Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Like, when I watched that first episode, I was so ready for it to just be Scott Pilgrim, and then it took a complete turn, and I was like, I couldn't fucking wait to watch more of it. Whereas with Dungeon Meshi, it's just like, oh, I'll see what they do next time. Or, well, I don't. I know what they'll do next time. And it's fun to, wow, that was easy. It was fun to watch, but it's not exciting to watch, I guess? I don't know. A faithful adaptation that misses the point of the original is worse than one that does its own thing, but is enjoyable in its own way. I mean, I'd say so, but I'm like Dungeon Meshi and Whisper Me a Love Song are not faithful adaptations that miss the point of the original. They are very true to the original. You know, not ignoring some little Marcel moments and stuff, and Chilcha getting petted and poked in the cheek. That's important, and they didn't do that. Just, I feel like Nichijou is the gold standard for anime adaptations. It's extremely good. It is extremely fucking good. I would say that Azumanga Daioh is like a very good one when it comes to taking the source material and being faithful to it, but still presenting it in a little different way. Because the original is 4 comma, is a 4 comma format, and it's a format that I don't vibe with that much usually. And it's not just us manga actually. There's other ones like K-On! did it quite well also, where they take that format but they then oh, and fucking Bocce the Rock. Bocce 2, yeah, Green Glong, yeah. They take that they take the story of that format, but they remove it from the format because it's 4, is not a good format with which to tell a story, and it's kind of weird that they keep trying. So those are things that work way better as the anime than they do as the manga to me. Let's see what we do. Split bomb. Allows the Pearl Drone to use split bombs. I feel like that's a good one. Give her more power. Fills the drone gauge by moving. Holy shit. Alright, well, let's do this one first. If you can charge the drone by moving, then doing a Pearl drone only run where you don't attack anything becomes much more viable suddenly. This is easy enough so far. Hello, hook up. Oh, fuck! I was thinking this was too easy. I knew there. Oh, I knew there was something. Ow, it's missing. Trigger seems to be using Dungeon Mesh largely as a way of getting young animators into positions where they can get experience and express themselves with minimal restraint. But doing that while also reworking the story would probably run into issues. Like the one scene of Chilchuk fighting the Mimic was the scene director's first ever credit. Wow! Amazing job to that person. That's an incredible scene. Like the animation in that scene. I did read something about that. I think that the person there did have other credits. I think I'm not sure anymore. Can I remind you of something they said in the tutorial? Sure, go ahead. Let's see. By defeating enemies, that's a good one, of course. That's that one. Ow. Getting close to the boss. I should probably like look at what the objectives are. I never look at that. I just look at what you get out of it. And maybe the difficulty. Fuck off. No. Okay. Yes, throw bombs. Nice. Dude, Pearl's being so useful. Okay. And done. Pearl drone charges over time. It's not based on anything to do. Yeah, it is. It's because I have pellets for that. Here, look. It's one of these. It's this one. It fills a drone gauge by defeating enemies. I know usually it's just sort of over time, but I have things that make it better. Let's see. Increases damage dealt to enemies when they're slow down. Firing speed, run speed. We'll do this one by default. Yeah, no, I know by default. What are we doing? Whoa, is that a shark? Whoa, there's a shark! Wish you could first person right now. Okay. No. No. Low frame rate floating shark. I love you, low frame rate floating shark. I love studying your wireframe. Please come back. Rush has taken position on top of the X deck. More Team Dark members are en route. Oh shit, gang. This is an important report. Everybody keep your fucking guard up. There you go. Whoa, a shark so transgender. That's true. Kills you, kills you, kills you, kills you. Maybe gets killed. Scared is scared. Nice, 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 nice. Good and powerful, very cool. Whoa, that's so smart. We're putting the sprinkler here. Look at me go. I remember I have this. First time in my fucking life that I remember I have a special. Jesus Christ. Oh. Ah! Get the thing. Get the. Oh, dead. Yes, I know. Thank you. Thank you. Whew, 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 whew. What difficulty is this one? Impossible? It's kind of annoying. I had the discs and then I got killed while I had the discs. Big sad. No, 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 no. No! Okay. Oh god. Okay, alright. Whew. That was very close. Phew. Okay, boss fight. GG easy. Yeah, so easy. I wasn't even scared. I'm fine. Let me do a stretchy and posture check. Thank you very much, Esteemed Esteemed Jester. And a sippy as well. Thank you very much, Lucina. I'm drinking right now. Don't do that shit. You're gonna make me choke to death.
Wow, I'm good.
You sure are, Amy. Just like I am. At this game. I'm awesome. You also have a drone. Yes, 8, I was just doing that. Okay, 1. Oh wait, I did that little spinny dodgeball thing that I always forget exists. I don't know if that was good. Probably could have done better with that. 1, 2, oh god. Oh, dang it. Oh well. Sensors indicate toxic Yuri ahead. Well, now you've put the idea in my head that the robot, those robots, they're robots. I love robot Yuri. Hell yeah. I like that you get to see like the color that you ended up with here. That's a nice color. That's pretty good. Good job, gang. That is so few. Hello. Hate to see it end there, but you'll look at it in your next run, I just know it. Haha. Yeah, I hope so. Let's do pay membucks to keep going after you lose all your lives. Interesting. Can I simply increase my max life still? No, not yet. You know what? I'm just gonna go back in until I have enough money for an extra life. Let's see. Let's just try the classic, the basic. Toxic killing machine robot Yuri. Murder is the only way they know how to express emotions, and they want to kill you so much. 'Cause they love me. That's so beautiful and sad. Refills ink by moving. Dead? I do find myself at having that problem a lot. That I need ink and I'm running around without ink, so... Yeah, alright. So there's 1, 2, 3... 3 bosses, that's not that much, I guess. We should be able to get that in one. I have full confidence in us. Oh wait, no! Where did the ball go? Oh, it's over there. Oh, it's about to go into the thing, how convenient. I will get that sticker after this round. Okay, so that's 1. And then I'm just gonna go kill you guys first. Oh, I say you guys, it's not even it's just a 1, just a lonely little 1. I almost feel bad for it. Almost. Shadow has positioned himself on the fist on the Robo Vacuum Bar. The Robo Vacuum Bar? Activate Team Blast with the R1 button. Oh, that's what you mean, that's my health bar though. The Robo Vacuum is a different thing. That's the donation goal. There you go though. It's now Shadow's health bar. If you reduce the health bar, you kill Shadow. Just so you know. Oh, this one's very useful if you're using a brush, huh? Or a roller. Increases the chance of enemies dropping armor. Armor will absorb damage and break, so you don't lose a life. That does sound good. Well, but I'll go with run speed. Because increased run speed is like funny, you know? Ding! So I need you guys to save that, the team attack, alright? The team blast until I really need it. Oh, okay, that one just died. No, I was like, I don't feel like it. I'm just gonna jump off the stage. Oh, we're doing a zone. I see. I was just wondering, like, what are we actually doing here? Okay. I don't think I like this stage very much. It's Beyblade? No, it's not, because Beyblade's good, and I don't like this. This one's not good. Okay. It's not so bad. Yay! Do the charges, are those safe between stages actually for like your special and stuff? Ooh, homing shots. Causes your man with to track targets. Having 2 or more improves the tracking. I love a homing shots. Because then I don't have to be as good at the game. Even though I'm very good at the game. Just so we're clear on that. Piercing also sounds pretty good. Wait, what's the question mark? Bonus? Bonus? I don't care. Homing shot. Do. Oh yeah, last time I had one of these where I just like couldn't do it because of the weapon that I was using. Remember that? That was fun. But it was like the last thing we did too. That's how we lost. It's just because I was using a brush and I couldn't reach it up there. Ow. Ow. Where'd it go? Oh, I just went up immediately. That's nice. Oh, hello. I was wondering where the enemies were in this stage. Oh, I was thinking that'd be more effective. I think I'd shoot one big blast at it and it'd be done. Wait, oh, I'm spamming through the results. Let's see. Let's do main firing speed. Also, I should pay attention to the homing thing. See what it looks like. And how much it homes, also. Can I just like turn my back to an enemy and then still hit them? Let's see, does it work here? Yes? Yeah. I think so. No, I don't think it works on that thing. Well, these targets are too big to not hit anyway. So can't test it on them. I don't know if it's done. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's a lower floor, but the fact that like a few enemies spawn and then they just don't until you've gotten one of the balls in, it just kind of, it takes the edge off of it, don't you think? Like you can just ignore the ball and then shoot all the enemies first and then just take your time with the ball. It's a bit odd to me. One chip of homing is pretty weak, but it does reduce your shot RNG. Makes sense. Get a little lock on reticle. Oh, cute! Alright, I'll pay attention to that. I think maybe I was seeing that on those guys, but I just wasn't registering it, you know? You said balls. Yeah, yeah, so I did. Yes, I did. I've said more funnier words, I guess. I think piercing would be better for an automatic weapon like this one, while homing might be better for something like blaster. Makes sense, makes sense. Ink tech size. This is how your main weapons shots make it easy to hit enemies. Let's go to the vending machine actually. Homing is great for Charger and Stinger, though not so much on everything else. Piercing on Blaster is actually amazing since it can direct several times. Right. And I'm never using a Charger because I don't like those, so I guess homing isn't very good for me. Recover lives would be good. That's not. Change your special... Well, there's no one to booyah though, so is that one really that good? Do I just booyah it myself? We'll recover a life though. And, I don't know, we don't have anything for Pearl yet, so... I'll save. I'll save my points. Yeah, what a rib, not even any snacks, it's fucked up. You could at least give us some snacks, that'd be cute. You have like a little moment where you just like enjoy a snack. I guess that is also a thing. You know where that's a thing? In the best game ever made, Go Vacation for the Nintendo Wii and Nintendo Switch. Well, actually only the Switch version. You can sit and enjoy a snack with your friends. In each of the resorts, there are several food trucks and restaurants and such. You can enjoy a snack. It's wonderful. It's the best game. Everybody should get it. Together with Kid and Burst, it's the best game. Those two are the best games of all time, I think. I'm sure I'll try out Charger at some point. It's just usually they're not really my cup of tea, you know. But I can imagine with the right palette, it can be very, very good. Especially if like homing reduces and charging reduces like the amount of time that you have to aim. Also, yeah, I am seeing the reticle now actually. It's quite clear, quite obvious to see in fact. Whoop. Does the BEEAAAAM make you unkillable while charging it like it does in Turf War? Well, you said Turf War wrong, first of all. That's something else that you just said. And I don't think it does. Does it now? I think it used to not. I quite remember like killing people while they're charging it up and getting killed while charging it up. Maybe I'm confusing it with a different weapon, I don't know. Different special, I mean. This one. It's so like almost jarring to me how minimal the music is in between. Nice. In between challenges, floors, in the elevator. That's the word. Oh. And done. Not done. Get that. Damn it.
Egg.
Egg. I will get your egg after this challenge. So I'll get it right now. Yuzu Adagio. Thank you very much. On top of Rouge's head. Okay. Now piercing's a good one, right? With this weapon? You guys said? It also has a bonus, so that's nice. Reduce me more enemy pierce. Okay. Drone battery drop. It still doesn't seem very useful because we don't have anything. That's weird. Like, we keep getting things for the drone gauge, but I don't think we've had... I mean, at very least, I don't remember having choices to pick up a drone chip. Like, that gives Pearl, like, a weapon. It doesn't do anything else, right? It doesn't do for these random drops. How's the Yuri today? Ooh, the Yuri... Okay, well, the Yuri in-game, we haven't seen that much of it yet, aside from that Marina's palette is all about Pearl. Like, just powering up the Pearl drone, which is very fun. But I've been reading Yuri, and we've been talking about Yuri. That's been nice. What kind of... Cattuber Mona, hello! Thank you very much for the... thank you very much for following. Hello. What kind of Yuri have y'all been partaking in anyway? Do tell. What do we have? Oh no, I didn't know what we were doing yet. I haven't been here yet. Oh, it's just don't use your main weapon. Oh. Right. I forgot that that's what a bonus was. I thought it was just like, you get a bonus reward, but no. Well... This seems like it might be very difficult for me. Oops, that's not... Well, that's fine. Oh, armor. I should get that. Yeah. I don't know if we can do this. I do not think we have the right build for this at all. Yeah, whatever. Oh, you're stuck on the side. You're like a little U-bot that needs to be helped off at the edge of a platform. Okay, got my escape ready. Okay. Almost and done. There can always be more Yuri. That's true. Lately I've been reading Lily Love. It's really cute. I don't know that one. Do tell. I never can help me, boss. Help me, Gordon. I can see you. You're fine. Oh, of course, it's sooner because I started an hour later because I was being a dum-dum today and I had to postpone the stream by an hour. It's all my fault. was reading a thing with some cute MLM in there, but it ain't the same. It's not the same as Yuri, but ow, ooh, but its existence is still very much appreciated, I do have to say. In a world, not sure if you're... Oh, queer rap is good rap. Even if it's not Yuri. It's about a nerdy girl discovering she's a lesbian when a hot girl moves in next door and then drama happens. Ooh, a bit of drama is always good. Eee! Damn, you guys are going... Eee! You guys are going wild with the E today, huh? Eee! Nice. Let's see. My Bunshines. Hey, 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 how are you doing? Eee! Thank you so much for the egg. Eee! Eee! I'm desperate enough to count drama have one. How do you say that? How do you say the name Ranma half 1 divided by 2 as Yuri currently? Whoa, you guys put someone in an E box. You put, who is this? Pink Kitty Rose. You put Pink Kitty Rose in an E box. It's fucked up. You guys imprisoned them. I often feel like, oh yeah, I should check out that Ranma thing because I hear it's like very like gender, like very transgender themes and stuff. But I always forget. Anyway, it is time for me to do my estrogel, and we just beat a floor, so that's a good timing. We'll take a 20 or so minute break, during which I will do my estrogel and put on some nice music for you all. Ranma 358 divided by 2 days, exactly. Exactly. Ranma 1/2, that makes more sense. Ranma 1/2, that's a good one. Okay, cool. I'll try to remember that. So, if you guys have to do any medicine yourself, please remember to do so. Remember to stay hydrated, get some snackies to stretch your leggies, and we'll be back here in about 20 minutes. See you guys soon. Bye 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 bye. Hi Baz, hi viewers! Hi! Sorry, I'm on break right now. I'll be back in about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll be continuing the Splatoon 3 side order. We're definitely gonna beat it in one run, for sure. But hi, hope you had a good run. Stream. Thanks so much. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-da-da-da. Yeah, the mic is working. Yeah, you guys can hear me. Hi, welcome back to the stream. We're back. Wow, gosh, golly gee. Let's get to it. Right after I get to the settings and stuff. There we go.
Hi.
Hello. Oh, I do a stretch impulse check and a sippy, sure. I've poured some tea over the break. Phew. Okay. And I take a sippy of my tea. Oh, that's a very good drinking temperature. Oh, that warms me up so good. So nice. I've got some tea. Bad news, boss. What is it? What's wrong? What's wrong, Lucina? We used Team Blast while you're gone. God damn it. We were gonna need that for the boss fight, probably. If I lose this round now, it's on you guys. Let's see. Damage dealt by explosions. This is your main weapons range. Sure, give me that one. No, come back. We got some real salmon color going on right now. How ranged is this range? That's pretty good. Oh! Oh, shit. You guys need to leave. Please. Okay. I was very afraid of that entire horde of enemies coming this way, but luckily the environment cooperated with me. And now we have won. That was easy, actually. Or at least I did really well. Don't worry, I've hired a cool crocodile detective. He will help you. He's on the left side of the health bar. Oh, okay, let me go look for him. Ah, yes, there he is. Very good. You know, I did good with that sprite. That's a good sprite. Beep. The ink color almost reminds me of Chucky Milk. Interesting. Chucky Milk, you say? I'll have to pay attention to it. Oh, that's right, you made a really good boss. Thanks! I will say I didn't make all of them. I did not make Sonic, Knuckles, Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, Mighty, and Ray I did not make. Wait! Amy, I think... Amy is modified from an existing one that someone else made, but the other ones I did make from scratch. Yes. SPO was on your left ear this whole time, by the way. Whoa! Leave it to a ninja to be so fucking, secret. There he is. My left ear. That's this one. That makes sense. There we go. Let's go. If you see me like switching the camera, it's me like calibrating the gyroscope, you know? Ow. I just got that armor, asshole. Claim the high ground. Okay, I will do so. Okay, one. There we go. Clean. Worthless consumer models. True. Uh-oh. Oh, fuck. Oh, damn it. There's 4 of them. That's so many. Don't even get my armor back? Aww. Ow. Oh, damn it. Do those two at least stay dead? No, they don't. Can I get the tornado toaster boss? That was a lot easier. I think. It's been a while. Die, okay. Playing it safe. Okay. Phew, okay. Good. I am used to winning against the odds. The odds being my own ineptitude. Whew. Head for Derek. Assume Jester, what kind of head would you like? You can actually reroll bosses if you get to see the boss upgrade. If you get to see the boss. Right, interesting. That is... Thanks. That is very good to know. Thank you. You give Derek the Knuckles hair. Yes, I can. Just flip this permanently. I don't know why I still haven't done that. There we go. Knuckles. Knock. It's fighting freak. And so it's such. Fuck. Golden Queen stays winning. It's so true. I'm always winning. I'm so good at that. I love that you can put the little Sonic stickers on your model. It's so good. Thank you. I think it's a funny little thing. Fills special case by moving. Sure. Let's go to the vending machine corner. Maybe get some lives back. Fuck, it's Fuckles. Oh, Fuckles, it's Knuckles. Millibays. Hello? Where's the thing? There we go. Thank you so much for your egg. Thank you. Yes, please. Oh, I said yes, please. And again. Homing shots. Just fizzy bomb. I don't really know what the fizzy bomb does that well. But I'll get more homing shots, sure, so I don't have to aim. The more lives cost. Interesting. Sticky ink, main range. I think stinky ink. I think a sticky ink would probably be good to have. Yeah, let's do that one. Get some more, you know, crowd control with that. Fuck you. No, get stuck. Nice. Come back. And done. Easy. Hit them with the stinky ink. What weapon were you playing in the previous run? The previous run I was using the BEEAAAAM, and I think this is like our fourth run, I think. First run was just the Splatoon dualies because we start with. Then we had the roller, then the BEEAAAAM, and now this one. Charmy is flying right next to the Gauntlet Queen logo. Use the right bumper to activate Teamless. Don't do it yet. Not yet, not yet. I love the way that you're presenting these Sonic stickers though, I gotta say. I had a peek of a bunch of drone chips and I figured, yeah, it's very good how even that enforces that they're gay. That her weapon just has a bunch of pearl drone chips and stuff. Okay, probably gonna go with piercing. Yeah, I will go with piercing. The lesbian palette, we love it. The whole inky stinky. Okay, got that. They're just all leaving, like we're jumping off the stage now. Goodbye. Okay. Hello? Nope. It looks like it'd be kind of fun to be one of those things and run around. It's like Sonic. It's like Sonic, chat. And that's pretty cool. Split ink recovery refill ink by defeating enemies. That is a very neat one that I do like, and also it's definitely the best out of these three. It's also the hard one, but I can do it, and it's got a bonus objective, which I probably won't adhere to. Who's Sonic? Those the fishies on wheels that you have to chase around. Don't take damage. Well, that should be possible. This is a lot of enemies. Hello. Okay, go, 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 go. Okay, good, that's one, that's one. Clear out the enemies a little bit. Oh god. Hello, you're some sort of big thing. Guess I'll destroy this one first. Okay, that's two. Yeah, that makes sense. I should have probably just walked away, huh? Oh well. Yeah, the enemy designs are very, very fun, and that big thing looked very fun and weird. And the little, the tentacle hoppers are very creative as well. Oh god. Why do enemies sometimes just sort of seem to disappear though? They just sort of bounce away. Is it because they get on one of the... Probably because they get on one of these, huh? Yeah, that's probably it. There we go. See, I should have instead of trying to get close and stuff, I should have just been charging up my special. Just keep my distance, killing enemies, charging my special, and then using the special to destroy the portal. That's what I should have been doing. Yeah. Next time. Splatoon just looks so freaking weird and cool in general. It does. I love the style of it and the world they've created. I don't like shooters much, but they've just about sold me on 3. 3, yeah, Splatoon really is like the shooter for people that don't generally like shooters that much. You still kind of gotta like them, but you know it's so different in both gameplay style and just visual style than almost any other shooter on the market. Well, I don't care about these two, so we're gonna do this one. Okay, sink some balls, that's easy. Oh, that is so many enemies. Oh, hey, dude. Thanks for pushing that ball into the goal. Thanks. Dip of shit. No, other way. Oh, some armor. Kills you. Don't mind if I do. And get you in there. And then we just shoot some more stuff for a little bit. Yay! Done. I think the best thing Splatoon did was make matches 3 minutes long with no voice chat or text communication. The 3 minutes long part is so good and important to me. Also, dialogue. Think we're past the spire's halfway point. This place doesn't let up, does it? How you holding up, 8? You should rest a little before we hit the next floor. I'm so sorry to have to go through all this. If only Order hadn't found a way into my mind. Yo, don't feel bad. None of this is your fault, Marina. I mean, somewhere deep down, I did wish for a perfect world of peace where nothing had to change. It was a weakness in me that Order took advantage of. Lots of people are afraid of change, even me sometimes. You too, Acht? Personally, it's never been in my top 10 fears. But I know that whatever you wished for, it wasn't this. You don't got nothing to apologize for. So dry those eyes. 8 and me are gonna pump the brakes on Order. Just sit back and enjoy the fireworks. But Pearl, 8... No, I can't just sit back. I'm going to do whatever I can to help fix this. Good. We're all pitching in, we'll make this right. Yeah! Probably just firing speed. Just firing speed. Well, dropped items is good. Getting armor and such. I wonder how Acht is called in the German translation. Good question. I mean, maybe just Acht and 8 is also called 8, you know? I can imagine that names don't get translated at all, so 8 is just called 8 in the German version, and the Dutch version, by the way, also. How many extinction level events has Splatoon had to deal with? Well, one... It's one one that happened, and then there, arguably the first time the Great Octo Weapons were activated, you could count those, you know? So that would be 2. And then like there was the laser the guy from Octo Expansion wanted to use, and there's the stuff that Grizz wanted to do, you know? I forgot to say this last time, Acht in the Dutch version is Smaragd, because of their green skin. That is very nice. Smaragd, by the way, is English for emerald, to those who don't know. Or, I mean, Dutch. It's Dutch for emerald. So that's very cute. I like that. And it's still got the 8 in there. That's nice. We'll do... Yeah, we'll do this one. I'm gonna be crazy and not just do a weapon upgrade this time. Smectarine is another English term for emerald. It is! I didn't know that. Neato. Ow. Just gonna grab that, thank you. Hey, dude. Hey, dude, get in my goop, dipshit. Uh-oh. Kills you in the middle of all the enemies, and I'm fine! I'm amazing! It all paid off! I'm so good at this, is the thing. Let's see... My phone is making noises. I wonder why. Spell is charge, range. What does the danger thing mean again? Does anyone remember? Is it just that it's harder, or does it mean there's like a bigger enemy that shows up or something? Because I don't remember. Extra obstacles, such as? Like darkness or enemy ink. Okay, enemy ink. What, like the stage starts off covered in it or something? I don't know if I want to risk it. Yes, okay, alright, thank you. Main range is good though, so I'll do it. And we'll just find out. Oh wait, wasn't it also a thing that like it gets harder every time you ignore it or something? You can also take Pearl away, making gelatins harder. No! Pearl! No! Pearl! It's the thing you told me about. It's real. It's true. Fuck. Well, I mean, I can't float. That's it. I have 0 Pearl upgrades as is, so not the worst thing in the world for now. Honestly, I feel like we lucked out if anything. Oh, whoops, I forgot that I can't float. Maybe it's a little worse than I thought. Yeah, getting this on a Probot build would be the worst. Hello? Oh yeah, you do that shit, I forgot. Okay, you go down there. And this will be an easy win. There we go. No big deal. Oh, so hard. Oh, the danger. Oh no. How will I ever survive without Pearl? Dude, I'm not the one who needs Pearl. Marina needs Pearl. I'm fine. I can do a extra boss fight, which will be very hard. And I'm not gonna do that. So let's go to the vending machine instead. Marina built those chains herself. That's not what Order's doing. She just wanted some time with Pearl while I was doing the level. That makes sense. Okay, get more health back, or lives, I mean. Let's see, Crab Tank is very fun, but it is also... I'm not as experienced with it, so let's not risk it. Suction Bomb, I will take that actually, thank you. Let's go. Honestly, it's better if Pearl isn't with us, because that means she can be with Marina. That's what I'm saying! Exactly! Why is she getting so hard? That's not nice. Well, I like armor piercing anyway, so... Shield spread reduction. Well, I already have homing, so I feel like that's not that necessary. The poison ink would be very good. But... no. I'm scared. I wanna upgrade more before I start doing the really hard things, I guess. Does it make sense? No, I feel like it doesn't. I feel like I should first upgrade a lot and then I don't need to do the hard things to get a good build because I'm already much better by default. But whatever. Kills you forever. Where'd the ball go? Hello? Oh, I already got it. Cool. Just... You're probably taking out those enemies since they're like scary, annoying spinning tops. Never mind, we're good. Okay, that's that one. Now for the hardest one. Note to self, shooting these things does not count as for the lucky meter. And we're just about done. Yay! Ugh. Oh good, they have invisible walls. I remember hearing people complaining about that in the 8-ball levels in Octo Expansion. Oh yeah, it was the worst. I'm so glad they're not as annoying now. I don't mind them now. Nice and quick, nice and quick. I'm so good at this. They should make an off-the-hook solo game, to be honest. I think that could be very, very fun. I feel like, if not a solo game, make it like a 2-player co-op game, you know? That you can play with your partner, that'd be cute. 8. Odds are good that we're coming up on a boss. You'll need to be smart at the core and careful on top. Marina, you worry too much. 8's gonna be just fine. The two of us got this. Right, of course. There's that unsolicited advice I'm so familiar with. I can't help it. Pearl's just too precious. She's fearless at the core and adorable on top. Oh my god, you guys are the best, dude. Can't wait for the wedding. Huh, this side of you is less familiar. Ooh. Cake the Human, hello, thank you very much for following. Welcome, welcome. The Yuri alert, very good. Let me just finish my tea before it gets too cold. Ooh. I wonder if there will ever be Splatoon 4. I wouldn't doubt it. I would not be surprised at all. It's profitable, so... Excuse me. What kind of tea are we talking? Rooibos. It's my favorite kind. Ooh, a ball. Hello. I haven't fought you before. Pinging Marciali. Hey, you're doing that thing. Oh, Oh, okay. You don't move by yourself. I see. That's fun. Okay. That's a very, very fun gimmick. So like what it can aim at is also dependent on what position it's laying in. That is so funny. And it's a Matryoshka doll. Matryoshka? Matryoshka. I believe? I think it's Matryoshka. That's such a fucking creative way to do a boss. Where'd you go, bud? Okay. Almost there. The sounds it makes. I love this thing. This thing is really fucking funny. Bye. Come on. There we go. Phew. Why is the ink white people colored? Because that's just the color palette that I ended up with. It's dependent on the power-ups you get. They like mesh together to form your ink color. Everyone's favorite ball. So true. There's a trend people have noticed with the games. The final Splatfest will impact the story of the next game. That's true. Splatoon 1, Kelly vs. Mary. Mary 1, you need to save Kelly. Next game, Splatoon 2, Order vs. Chaos. Chaos 1, so the world is chaotic, and the DLC involves fighting Order. Yeah, it's very, very cool. So whatever the last Splatfest is for 3 will give an idea for the next game. I know! I love that they're doing that. It's so fun and exciting. This is one of my least favorite bosses, not gonna lie, but the sound it makes is funny. If this is your least favorite boss, then there can be no bad bosses, clearly, because that was a funny boss. Boss help. I will help you. Give me a second. There you go. Has someone already told you about how these guys sing off-the-hook songs when their voice lines are put in order? No, that is very cool. I like that. Good going, 8. And we got a locker key out of the deal. That boss though, huh? This order creep ain't pulling its punches anymore. It must have made those to stop anyone from ruining its plan. I remember it said it wants to turn the Memverse into a colorless world of order. A world of mindless puppets, huh? Sounds exactly like where I was before I came here. Ah, you weren't at the Deep Sea Metro, were you? Hold up, the Deep Sea Metro? That's where you pulled 8 out from. That's the place. Someone or something there took my will away. I was forced to DJ for it. That's true. That is very cool that they're incorporating that into lore. I don't remember much about my time there, except I heard this voice. Point is, it's better left in the past. I can't believe you went through something so awful. You know, I developed the Memverse in the first place to restore the minds of quote-unquote sanitized Octarians like you. And since we're having this conversation, that means it must have worked. Huh. So that was you, was it? I'm racking up quite the debt. All this is even more reason to take back the Memverse from Order. Those other Octolings need help too. Let's go. Let's see, knockback, attacks from your main weapon push enemies away. Does not affect certain heavy enemies, but that is still useful. It's only a normal difficulty, so we can take that danger. Let's do it! Confirmed that all enemies in Octo Expansion could have been cured. Yeah! Oh! I see. So this is the ink coating. All right. Whoa. Oh yeah, you do like poison damage. I forgot. Let's have a look. So there's one there, one there. Okay. Just gonna work on taking out the enemies first. What's the tower? We'll do it later. There we go. Uh-oh. Not good. Leave. 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 Okay. Whew. I'll take that armor, thank you. Wait, I already hit. I was gonna like prepare this bridge to shoot the ball over, but I guess it doesn't really matter now. Hey, you got a thing on you. That's funny. Okay, so it's over there. So let's just. Okay, this one is gonna be a little bit harder to get to. Where'd the ball go? Oh, there it is. Good, good. And there we go. I'm not even gonna fight you guys. I don't have to. I'm scared. Fun marine biology fact, I love those. The battering lento, the big fish boy, is possibly based on the green humphead parrotfish, the same big head in chompers they headbutt like in game, is because they're territorial. They also headbutt coral to big pieces often eat it. I didn't know about the headbutting, but I did know what they were based on. I like those fish, they're funny and they have very prominent teeth, which look weird. In the best way. Let's see, swim speed. Oh, that's rigorous though. Rigorous is scary and bad. I'll go with a normal one. Alright, let's see. The goals are over there. Okay. Wait, the first one should be easy to get. There we go, it should be good enough. What, hold on, what did we get? Oh, right, bigger chain, right. So that's a good one, because then we get more power-ups. What's the sound? That was scary. Going to shoot over this way. Oh! I was just wondering, I wonder where the ball went. They're very independent, you know? They made those things so much easier since the last game. I think I just Beybladed it perfectly, yeah. Poisoning is good. Ink attack size, sure. I think I'll go with poisoning though. I feel like that's gonna be another case of like stuff just kind of sorting itself out, just like what happened now. Stuff will just die because it's in the ink, and that's useful, you know. So let's do it. Okay. No better enemy to try to poison out on than these things. Do. Well, they're all hanging out together. Can I not join? Can I not hang with you guys? And done. Easy. At the start of any run, you just take what you can get and hope a coherent synergy shows up. That does tend to be the case in... Well, I mean, that's honestly kind of just how roguelikes work. This one, with the pellet system, gives you more of an idea of what your build might end up looking like than most games. Since in most games, that's not really a thing, you know? You might have a starting character, but what you get after that is completely random. So it really is dependent just on what you end up finding. You have more of an idea of where you're gonna go here than you do usually. But that's one of the fun things about a roguelike is how... you know, how your build just sort of naturally evolves over time. It's neat. Because I sometimes might find myself just sort of like doing the same thing every time in some games when I have like a build, but that doesn't happen in a roguelike. It can't. You know? Let's see. Well, I guess I have to do the hard one. Playing Gunfire as you have an idea of what works best for the character I'm using, but it's also important to be able to improvise. It's true, I found myself not thinking Gunfire's roguelike element lend itself to that much creativity, to be honest. Don't remember too much, but like how else are you supposed to get anywhere? It's a good question. I guess just running like a dipshit. Oh shit, I swam. Okay, but it wasn't too much. Okay, that's good. I'm glad you can swim a little. That's nice. Should get the thing. Okay, hold on. Those things behind me just died to the poison. Nice. Okay. If I just take my time with this, we'll be fine. I find myself always like leaning forward so much when playing Splatoon, and I don't know what's up with that. Hello? Go. That's very fun. You like you start up, you take it all the way down, then you have to climb back up again. I like that. And I don't think I have to move from this spot. No, I don't. I'm activating the gamer lean mode. I really am. Shouldn't though, that's not good. Gunfire is just the one I have the most experience with. Despite liking roguelikes, I don't really own many. Well, that's fair. I do think Gunfire is still fun. I'm not saying it's not fun. It's just, hold on. I don't know. It just doesn't take the rogue-like element as far as I prefer for games to take it. Risk of Rain is the best one, easily. Swim speed up, not unuseful. Armor piercing, we can get that a little bit better. Search imposter check and a sippy. I will do these things. Thank you very much, Polar Stars. Wow, I'm going all over the place. Phew. There we go. Let's see, swim speed or armor piercing. I think I'll do swim speed since I find myself being so scared of enemies so frequently. Gonna get some pearls after this one, that's nice. Protect the zone. That's a big zone. Yikes, gang. I'm a little scared of how big this zone is. But I'm sure if I just use the fucking explodey fish a lot, I'll be fine. Oh. No. But I need that. I need the control. This is bad. This is good and fine. I never doubted myself. I knew it was gonna do so good. Yay! Has sprite banner in the corner always been able to change and I've just never noticed? It hasn't been always. It's been that way for... what'll have been, I don't know... half a year-ish? I'd say like half a year-ish. At one point I had a hiatus, and during that time I made that. This run's pretty good, huh? Feels like we gotta be cleaning clothes now. You're right, we're almost at the top floor. Oh wow, already? Aw yeah, should be long before we get this wrapped up. Then it's back to our world tour. Off the hook, was it? I'm eager to get out of here so I can catch your act. Our science is tight. Peep the disclaimer first, because we've been known to blow minds. Nice. We still have a few shows left in our tour. You and Nate are more than welcome to come and see one. I'll think about it. Though, it did mean flying. Never been on a plane before. Are we like actually close? I guess we are, because there's 30 floors, right? I've just been so in the zone. I haven't really noticed that we're getting close. Nice. We'll do more piercing, I suppose. Oct has bad experience with trains, so maybe a plane isn't the best idea. Planes are different from trains, though. They're scarier. Alright, let's see. Okay. Oh, they can go even further. Okay. Oh, hello. So we can bottleneck him. Okay, this should be... Hey, hold on a second. Fuck off! What are those little things? Little floaty things. Hello? Easy peasy, easy peasy. No! The control, I need that shit. No, 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 no. Oh god. Come on. Easy peasy, I'm so good at this. Yay! That was fun. That was a funny little thing, like creating like a barricade with those blocks. Fun and creative, so good. I was kind of, after the first stream, I do remember I was a little, hey, we can finally get a drone thing. I was a little skeptical of how interesting the stages were actually going to be if there were this few objectives, but they're getting interesting enough with the layouts and stuff. Let's see. Ooh, this one immediately goes to 8 piercing then, that's nice. Giving Pearl and Tech is useful, but we haven't been upgrading that at all, so... Is it really that good at this point? I guess compared to these two options, it's good enough. The piercing is nice, we already have 4 piercing. 8 piercing is a little overkill. It feels a little overkill, to be honest. Because stuff doesn't have that much health. For the most part, you know? So I feel that like it'll die sooner. It'll die soon enough that like we don't really need that much piercing. We're just gonna hit the enemy behind it directly anyway. So I think we'll go for the killer whale. It is a danger thing though, and that's scary and dangerous though. I'm sorry I rated you last night. Just went on like, hey, that's alright. That's okay, it happens. That's don't worry about it. I appreciate the raid anyway. Alright, here we go. I hope I don't mess this up and blow it all. That would be big sad. Okay, what's the thing? Arpeggio barrage. Those flying things are gonna come at us thick and fast. Don't forget to look up 8. Thanks, that sounds like a pain in the ass. What are we doing here? Oh, okay, it's a turbine tower. Got it.
Egg.
What's that sound? I just heard some sort of a noise come from real life. Ow! Let's go grab that real quick. Ow! Shouldn't have done that. That was a waste of time. I guess I did charge my special, so that's good. Okay, if I'm under a roof, hopefully those little flying things won't be able to get to me as easily. Oh, hello. Should've been looking behind me. Why? Where's the thing? Oh, has it just been going by itself? Was it because one of those, the tops bumped into it or something? I had not been shooting it, but they're making progress all the same. I talk funny sometimes. Okay, go, 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 go. Almost. Almost. Oh, God. Yeah, nice. Goddamn. Also, Cubix Flails, thank you very much for your egg. Here you go. Whew. This gets so intense. Whew. Let me take a sippy. Yes, I will go to the vending machine to get a little break. Thank you. Phew. We got a very good purple going on. You seen this? That's nice. Alright, let's see. I've just been forgetting I have a fucking sub weapon. Main in coverage and that one. Do we have? Wait, hold on. Do we have the? Yeah. Okay. So I'll buy both of these. I can buy multiple of them. Cost a lot though. Meh. What do the eggs do? They cover the screen mostly. Yeah, that's it. We have very rare occasions where I'll be like, oh no, the only way that we can do so-and-so, I don't know, do like another run of a roguelike, for example, is if 3 people sacrifice their eggs for this, and then 3 people in chat have to like say like, I sacrificed my egg, and then I remove their eggs from the stack, you know? You can buy pretty much all of them at this point. I could, but that means I have less membucks with which to, like, upgrade. Yeah, egg sacrifices haven't happened for a while now, though. Haven't really come up much. And or I forget they exist. Oops. Knockback would be good. Go with this one. It's a danger one though, again. Oh, we're so close to beating it. It's kind of wild that I'm... No! What? I just upgraded you! Fuck! And also no item drops! This is fucked! Also, Sonic sticker. Metal's here to help. He's on the left platform. Thank you. Thank you, Metal. You're so helpful all the time, forever. This is what we know about you. You're very helpful. Okay, 4 portals. That's a big portal. I'll deal with that one first. Alright, I have no drone. Oh, hello. Hello. Oh, no! That took me by surprise. Go, 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 go. Okay, get this one, please. Okay, it seems they're all just dying in my ink, so that's very good. I'm glad my build for that is working well. Go over here. High ground. Kill you, kill you. You guys have to leave me alone. I'm trying to kill your entire species, I guess. Do you guys count as a species? Yeah, sure. Ow. Just play it safe, take it easy. Scared. Okay. And there we go. Phew, okay. Okay, that went well. That wasn't that bad. I think the last egg sacrifice was in script for inscription. That's a while ago, damn. Fuck. Whew. The floor, everyone. Order must be waiting for us there. I'm partially responsible for what's going on, so I'll go out there with you, 8. Oh, fun! Without a weapon? Forget that! I know, but I have to. Look, it's pretty much impossible to change Marina's mind once it's set, but she can handle herself without a weapon. She's so fucking cool. There shouldn't be a problem. That's so sweet of you, Oft. Alright, I can see when I'm outvoted. No big blazes of glory though, okay? You got it, Pearl. You coming too, Ocht? Fuck no. I'm going out there, that's scary, dude. Nah, I'd rather not get in your way. I'll watch from here in case things go south. Good looking out. And yo, if things go real bad, keep Marina safe. Get hyped, get psyched, get ready for a big ol' messy fight! Let's show them the power of Gauntlet Queen heroes! Marina's bare knuckle brawling. Dude, me too. I totally get it. I mean, I'm not bare knuckle, I guess, but you know what I mean. She gets it. Alright. Okay, here we go. What are your bare fists with gauntlets of flesh? Oh, rule! Damn, that looks scary. Fuck yeah, dude. Go back there in time for 3rd floor, 30th floor. Yeah, you're here. We're really in it now, Fluttershy. Here we go, everybody. Get that team blast ready. Do the Yuri spirit bomb and everything. Here we fucking go. I'm gonna show them what we're made of. Yo, look, it's order. Oh, cutscene. A perfect world is a stable world. There is no need for change, for variation. It has no need for desire, for conflict. In this world, none desire what might be. They embrace what is. Their lives are peaceful ones. I will achieve a quiet and peaceful world. Reasons oppose this include error. No reasons found. I can't deny that a chaotic world is an unstable one. That uncertainty can tire you out or make you scared of what tomorrow might bring. There have been times when I wish everything could stay the same forever. Sometimes when colors clash and mix you end up with mud, but every now and then you get to see a beautiful rainbow. That's so true. Also, mud has its own beneficial properties also. It's good for the skin, or whatever. And in the end, that's a gamble I'm willing to take. With Pearl, with 8 and 8, and mostly Pearl, and everyone else. But mostly Pearl.
This world's architect, my creator, would deny me. Illogical, irrational, error. Error, 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 error. An unrecoverable mentality error has occurred.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I couldn't read that. I think it said that the sentence was interrupted, which, yeah, it was. Whoa! Oh my god, it's a giant octopus boss! Oh, the eyes. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I don't feel safe.
No, me neither. Okay, so far so good. Get fucked. Okay. All right. Ow. Ow, hey. Don't fucking regenerate. I hate bosses that regenerate. Ah, you don't do that shit. Okay. Ow. Wait. Another portal. Oh, there it is. Hello. It sounds like it's doing things in tune to the music, but it's a little hard to hear. I hope it is, because I love that shit. Uh-oh. Go! Leave! Okay, well, that's fine. Oh! Wow, okay. I respawn. Yeah, but I respawn after you beat me, like not during the fight. That's different. Did I get a checkpoint? At least for the boss phase or not? Okay, yeah, looks like it. That's good at least. Come on. Go. Leave. I'm so fucking scared of those bombs. It's so scary. Okay. Now let's kill you before you do the fucking stingray bullshit. Come on. Oh! Hello. Well, they didn't kill me or nothing. Oh, you're doing more. That's not it. Okay, ow. Okay. Oh, the name is Overlorder. I get it. That's fun. That's cute. Fuck you, though. Oh. Oh. No, you can't use my favorite special against me. That is so mean. You're so vile. And fuck it up. Nice job, Pearl. Nice job. Very good. Where's the last portal? Is it back there? Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Oh god. Ah, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. It's this shit. It's this shit. This shit is so scary, dude. It's so scary. Hello. Hi. Fuck off. Can you stop? Can you stop? Can you stop? Thank you. Well, all my progress on this one went away. I don't know if I had any progress on it actually. I'm kinda hungry. No, 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 no. Fuck off with that shit. Oh god, I hate you forever. Uh-oh. Come on. Almost. Oh, oh, okay, okay. Did we do it?
But the program is now.
I'm not gonna do it in the middle of the cutscene. Not gonna start talking. Oh, that sounds like you're gonna do a phase 2. Oh. No! No! No, that's not yippee at all. Hacker girl. Hello? I'm creating a beat. Are we about to do phase 2? This feels like it's building up to a fight. Come on. Save the world with game music. Oh, activate Team Blast now. Let's fucking do it. Oh. Like Anthromantic, thank you very much for following.
Of what use is this resistance? Happiness is stasis, unchanging forever.
I can't talk that fast. You guys are talking too fast. Whoa! Okay. Oh, the limbs are dancing to the music. You can't stop it, asshole. Oh, okay. I can't mess this up. That'd be so sad. Bell is empty. What? No! Oh, is it like a risk of rain thing where I'm gonna have to re-earn them during the fight? Did Order do this? Look, I think I see color chips trapped inside those portals. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're turning up the intensity on this fight. It's encore time. Ready to take a bow 8? Oh, here we fucking go. Oh god, I really hope I don't fuck this up. I hope it's kind of like a victory lap kind of situation. And it's hard to fuck it up because I'd be so sad if I messes up now we're all like in the moment and stuff. Oh god, no, 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 no. Don't do this shit to me, don't do that to me. Okay. Okay, got one. Nice, 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 nice. Ooh, they're stronger than usual too? Because they're more saturated? Damn, I love Splatoon. Splatoon's so fucking cool and fun. Much bigger explosions from the portals too, it seems like. Okay, we got the fast swimming back. You don't notice how much faster that is until you don't have it again for a second. But it is much faster. Na, 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 na. It's so good! It's so hype! I love this! Get out of here, asshole. Oh, we got a special. We got a special attack. Here we go. Woo! Get fucked! Oh, it's just doing 8,888 damage. So fun. It's just swearing at us. The Yuri blast, it's a gay beam, dude. There it is. Oh, fuck yeah. I love I can see you bopping with the gyro controls. Oh, you're so little, you're like a little baby. It's so cute. You ruined everything. I was so close to my public world of idol. I love that I got to bust out the Uwu voice for a second. Oh, Puddle! Smolesk! Oh, that's adorable. Whoa. I love you, Splatoon. Maybe the real evil was a baby all along. It's been known. That's the Antichrist. One of the best boss fights ever. It's very cool and hype. I don't know if I would put it at one of the best boss fights ever. Like, it's on par with most Splatoon boss fights. Splatoon final bosses are just really fucking good. Splatoon knows how to make a really exciting finale. There's only one thing worse than order. Boom, a child. The Splatoon final boss fights only give you all the roguelite upgrades. That's true. That was a very, very cool way of doing it. It's a very good way of finishing doing a roguelike final boss, is having a little victory lap after the actual boss fight where you just get every upgrade. Pearl's outfit is everything. It's such a fucking good outfit. I love it. The giant jacket, the glasses, the fingerless gloves, it's so fucking good. $1 million jacket. I'm surprised. Okay, no. I want to say that I'm surprised that I beat it in 2 streams, but I think Splatoon 1 and 2, the story modes, I also beat in 2 streams. Maybe like the 3 normal story mode I also beat in 2 streams. Maybe I think that one took me 3. But anyway, so that's not that weird. And also, given that it's a roguelike, I don't mind that it's a shorter campaign. And I'm just so fucking cracked, you know, that I did it in 2 streams. Ooh, I'm so awesome. And of course, there's a lot of replayability here to like unlock all the palettes and get all the lore bits and things like that and stuff. So it makes sense that it's shorter. So I don't mind. And honestly, anytime I beat a game on stream, great, because then I can do any of the other millions of games that I want to play on stream. This also gets super difficult. I'm sorry, super difficult. I beat it in 2 streams. I know I was like so scared. I know I was struggling, but I did do it. No, it gets difficult. I like the difficulty. The difficulty is very good. I thought it was a good difficulty, you know? In a dev interview, they stated that they wanted Pearl's clothes to look like a spacesuit, while Marina's hair was like a galaxy. She wants her expeditiously. That's insane. They're so gay for each other, dude. I love them. I think they should have done more kissing and such at the end, though. That would have been good. I've seen a friend of mine play through it after winning a few more tries, and the final boss didn't get the blast. Oh, so you only get that once? That's kind of... That's kind of sad. You don't get to do that cool big thing again. I feel like they should give you the option to do it. I mean, like, it makes sense. Given how Splatoon tends to do things, with their final bosses, there'll be a... You can replay it though. Okay, good. There'll be like some lore explanation as to why you're fighting the final boss again, which is probably just Marina being like, oh yeah, I just simulated it because it's fun to do. So I'm not surprised that you don't get the big blast at the end because it's not narratively important anymore. It's a bit of a shame though, because it's fun. You'll find out. I'm sure I will. There's an epilogue, don't worry. Yeah, I know, I figured there would be. Don't worry guys, I know there's more. This is not my first Splatoon game. As you all should be aware, since I played through the entire series on stream. Oh! Oh my gosh! Wow! Oh my gosh! Thank you for watching. We're not done. I'm not ending the stream just yet, but that's gonna take too much longer. But you know, it said thanks for playing, which you guys didn't play, so thanks for watching. You know. Hi, 8. Aw, 8 looked at us. That's nice. No secret extra level though. That's a little sad. Even to make sense for what kind of game this is. Yeah, that's not too surprising. I was controlling you. Okay, well, thanks Jody for playing then, and thanks for showing me my existence as a lie and all that.
Maybe I got a way to kill you way back though. But this isn't over yet!
Oh no!
They saw what that Koa was rolling on, and I'm going to give it to them!
Oh my god! We're not done yet! Fuck. I still think the moment where you gotta do the thing to the beat is pretty darn good. No, that part was fucking awesome. I love that kind of stuff. Like, it's such a simple little thing, but it is everything, you know? What's snake kill?
It's not over yet.
I think you gotta work on your Uwu speak typing. There's something that's the equivalent of an secret extra level though, and that's certainly a worthy challenge. Interesting. I beat someone first round 0 upgrades, not to brag. Oh, well, okay, good job. We got an emote. Oh, yay! Something else gonna happen now? Oh, hello. Hey, look, it's my Inkling. I love my Inkling. Gotta have a good design. Hell yeah. Yo! Yay! Oh yeah, of course, now we can just go here normally. I assume. The last song was a request from the Redoubtable Splitsville Rules, titled number 47 Onward by Deadfish featuring Off the Hook. Hold up, artists from Inkopolis? I thought we repped Splatville. Anarchy! You say that, Fry, but I've heard you guys about their talent over the talent before. Speaking of Off the Hook, word is they're back in Inkopolis Square after the big tour. That's right! Did you see they announced a new song after the tour? I caught an interview with Pearl. Hold on, big man.
I got an interview with Burl where she said, we're not done fighting yet.
That's what he sounds like to me.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool.
Isn't their world tour over? Maybe they still have a score to settle with someone. Apparently that's not all the news we have for you today. Whoa, what you got? Turf War is making a comeback in Inkopolis Square. The hype is real, it seems. Another Inkopolis story. Don't we have any real news? Guys, can you guys fucking believe that the reason Splatfest, which was the softest animal between a baby chicken, a bear cub, and a Banui, which is well known to be the softest, nicest, cutest, cuddliest animal of all time, the Banui lost? And it was Fry's animal, so Fry lost another one? Like, Fry just never fucking wins? Like, at this point, I feel like people are just it cannot be that they did not believe that Bunny was not the softest one, because it is. But Bunny is absolutely the softest thing in the world, and the fact that Banui lost means that people are specifically picking, like, they're counter-picking Fry. They're just hating on Fry. That has to be the explanation. Nintendo's gonna be pulling strings 100%. Either Nintendo or the community, they're just hating for some reason. It's fucked up. Yeah, Banui lost. I can't believe it. The softest is Chinchilla. That's not true, actually. Chinchillas are not real. They don't exist. They're a mass hallucination, and they're not as soft. Sorry. Chinchillas are literally scientifically the softest animal in the world. They have the most fur per pore. Doesn't matter. They're not real. They don't exist. And even if they did exist, they weren't an option in the Splatfest, so it doesn't matter. Sorry. Bunnies did win the popularity vote. Yeah, okay, so that proves it. So people are just like hating on Fry then. If most people did go for Banui, correct, but still lost, then people just hate Fry and Nintendo hates Fry, you know? I think that's what it is. Honestly, not worth picking a Fry team if the Western fans flock to it, to be honest. Every time she's super popular in the West, she loses. Why? Why though? She's fun. I think it's the same fucking issue as Splatoon 2, where pro players will pick against the most popular option because that team will be full of casuals. Interesting. That would suck if that's the case. Bunny girls are bad at Splatoon? No, how is that possible? The bunny girls are awesome though. Wasn't Inkopolis Square filled with spaced out slouches last we heard?
Seems like most folks snapped out of it, but some people still aren't all there.
Come on, everybody zones out sometimes. You've been a little spacey yourself, big man.
Didn't I have to ask someone to pass the soy sauce 3 times yesterday?
What of it? It's not like we're involved in whatever's happening in Inkopolis Square. Yep, nothing to do with us, that's for sure. We don't give a shit. And that's it for now. Ooh, spicy. From Splitsville, that's a wrap. Catch you later. Welcome to Inkopolis Square, the new nerve center of Inkling culture. That's Deca Tower there in front of you, one of the tallest buildings in all of Inkopolis. There's a lobby on the first floor of Deca Tower for online battles. Over here we've got the Galleria, that's the word, Inkopolis' most popular shopping center. Here you can buy the freshest gear and weapons to use in battle. But the shops are pretty exclusive and they won't serve you if you're not fresh enough. This is so cute. I love that we just get the same explanation as in Splatoon 2. You know? That's fun. You know, because we've done this before. Although maybe no, that doesn't make sense because you can only go here after the DLC. So yeah, you just get the explanation even though you know it already. She only won once, except in Japan. She won another one a few months back. Which ones did she win? Oh, she is the Phil cut of Splatoon. Oh, happy. For some weird reason, every single tutorial from both 1 and 2 appear again when you enter the hubs. I think that's funny. I support it. That's good and fun. Also, Big Man's team was Bears, which is everyone's screaming, people who beat the secret level go here. Okay. Players might not know the areas. Yeah, no, exactly. But if you have the complete tutorials, I mean, if you just like explaining, like talking about this, but it'd be really good if you had the gameplay tutorials also. That'd be so funny. But no, that's not the case, of course. But yeah, like it's funny to me because I know what everything is, but it makes sense for people who haven't played these games. Even though it's also in the shops. Okay, so it's just as a joke then. That's funny. I like that. What else? Oh, that creepy shop back there. Rumor has it they're hiring for some sketchy job. Might want to think twice before you apply there, unless you really need dough. That brings us to the shoal, the closest... I like the word shoal. The closest hangout spot in all of Inkopolis. It's where Inklings and Octolings meet up with nearby friends for competitive and co-play. I actually also just like shoals. They're neat. They have neat little ecosystems. If you want to visit another city, you can hit up the train station here. Looks like a few residents are still spacing out. Shouldn't someone do something about that? One of the destinations from the train is the Order sector. Be sure to check it out. And that's it. Whoa. Feel free to give yourself a tour or dive straight into a strange phenomenon. Whatever you choose, enjoy Inkopolis Square. You look very cool. Also, scheming as fuck. You are going to do a robbery. You are going to cheat at ink. Yeah, that's the sentence I wanted to say. You are going to cheat at ink. Oh, the amiibo thing is here. Having this person still be here is kind of funny. Go to recon. Oh yeah. Oh no, wait, that's someone else. Sorry, for some reason I thought that's the person who like teleports you around the map in Splitsville. Is that a thing? I don't know. Oh well. I've been playing Splatoon 2 again to finally play Octo Expansion, and it's cool to see how this hub has evolved here. Yeah, it is cool. Hey dude. Hey merch. Oh chum. Hey, you're not connected to the internet. I'm not? If you're offline, I'm offline, so go to the lobby, connect up, and then let's chat. Why am I offline? That's weird. Oh well. Hello. Oh, there's table turf, that's good. I'm hungry. Hold on, I gotta look at my besties. I guess I'm not their besties. They don't know me. Just because they don't know my character. Yeah, my internet's dead, I guess. I don't know how I'm streaming. The Yuri! Hi! Okay, alright. Well, they still acknowledge me. I guess that makes sense. They're in the story mode. Never mind. Are they in the story mode? The regular story mode? No, they're not, are they? No, they're not. I think. No, they're not. Are they? No, they're not. I can talk. So, because in Splatoon 2, you can also look at them here. And before you beat story mode, that's not the animation that plays when they recognize you. Oh no, wait, I think you're right. Never mind. Okay, yeah. So in Splatoon 2, when you beat the story mode and you do this again, they react differently. Sorry, I thought that Pearl just basically didn't react to it at all, but I was wrong. Your character wouldn't know them, but could maybe know of them through agents. Oh yeah, I'm sure my character knows of them, but the gay women, the women who love females, the homosexual girls, so real, and I'm right there with them. I thought you didn't react at all, but yeah. But no, they react differently once you've beaten the story mode in 2, which is very cute. Anyway, we'll go back to sector order, whatever. See what's going on there, and then I will begin to ponder whether or not I will play more, or if we're leaving it at that. Look at the coffee shop. I didn't! I'm so sorry. Yeah, I did. Hi. Thanks again for helping us put a stop to Order's terrible plan. You cut Order off from most of its power, so there's no need to worry about it pulling anyone else in here. Yeah, everything's chill. Well, mostly. So, the bad news is, I've discovered an issue with the pallets still in the members. Oh, the art is so good. Hell yeah, so gay. Remember when I told you that pallets are part of a soul belonging to someone pulled into the memverse? That shouldn't have happened, but Order pulling them in must have forced them into becoming pallets. The safeguards in place to protect the soul's owner must have been tampered with. Sounds like a serious security flaw.
Car battery!
Got off. Oh, ow! Octa's so fucking cool. Fucking look at him. They're so cool. Yeah, and if it's not fixed, it could have equally serious consequences in the real world. If we take a pallet to the control room on the top floor of the spire, we should be able to reconfigure the settings to patch the issue. But we can only reconfigure the pallet we take with us. The problem won't really be addressed until we go up the spire with every pallet. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that on stream. If I have to beat the game with every single pallet, because I assume there's a lot of them. I know it becomes easier every time because we get the upgrades and stuff, but that's a lot of work, gang. I've got other games I want to get to. Plus, it'll leave you guys with something to do if you want to play it yourself. Wow, I'm so generous. And the lockers are still giving off signals from pellets inside. There are still pellets we haven't even seen. Oh, what for each weapon? Okay, well, that might be easier then. Because easier every time, except for the final pellet, which is a bitch. Cool. How many weapons are there then? Weapon classes? Okay, game plan. First, get our hands on all the pallets. Next, take every single one up every floor of the spire. Sounds like a big job, honestly. But the sooner we get started, the sooner it'll be done. 8's a powerhouse, and with us helping, we'll be done quicker than it takes me to empty an ink tank. Yay, Pearl, that's a spirit. 12 pellets total. I don't know, gang. I don't know if I want to do that. At least I'm not sure if I want to do that on stream. Look at the little walkies. Look at the little walkies. The little leggies. Zooming, can you see? No, you can't. Well, they got little walkies. Yo, I think someone set up shop behind the lockers. Oh, Ooh, you look fancy. Let's go to the lockers and check out whoever it is while we're out there. You got a locker key. Yay! You got the order shot replica. You can pick it up at the lobby terminal. Okay. The little high heels. That's funny. You could do most of them off stream and then stream the last one. Is there no dialogue and such between? So far, we've gotten a new locker key every time we beat a boss with a new palette. On our next Spire of Order run, why not try out a palette we don't have any keys for yet? Okay. And wait, how did I get here? Thanks so much for the egg. There you go. Oh, there was an iridium at some point.
I'm so sorry, I missed the iridium. So, I'll also take a sippy. Yum, 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 yum. There is dialogue. There's a beetje dialogue en stuff. Nee, als er wel gesprekken zijn en zo, dan wil ik het eigenlijk wel... Dan wil ik wel op stream doen, weet je wel? Dus ik weet niet... Like, het een of het ander, beetje. Dus ik weet niet echt wat ik dat wil doen. Is lastig. What the fuck is dat wapen? Wat is dat? Ik weet niet eens waar ik naar kijk. Wat is dat? Huh?
I don't recognize this weapon at all. What the fuck? What am I looking at? Are you... What is this? Oh, it's a bucket. Oh, now I see. Right, that's really hard to recognize. I gotta... Just... My god. Dear god. That's it. Hey, it's Big Man's palette. Oh man, that LAN background music alias is super fresh. You should just go on with that stage name for everything. What? Are you telling me LAN, BGM, and Big Man are the same person? Fuck up. Give them to Marina. Ooh, some of these have pearls in them. We can give them to Marina for some sweet hacks, yes. Someone say hacking? That's me, that's my thing, cute. Pearls are valuable, but you get more after every run at Spire of Order, so don't feel like you have to hoard them. Yes, yes, yes. Hello, you look very cool. I see you have a little orb. Ooh, Arachna Squid, thank you very much for your egg. There you go. Boop-boop. Courageous Octoling, I have been awaiting your appearance. Already you're being changed to this world, but there is more change to come. Your bringing is incomplete. I am Cypher. You shop within Cypher's siftings. My preferred currency of exchange is pearls. My delivery system is leaving purchases at the lobby terminal. I hope that your desire is found among my siftings. Ah, you give me things for my locker and my profile. I see. Well, can't say I care about these. Maybe you've had some gay shit here. I mean, obviously this is gay shit because it's Marina's background, but I would want both of them to be gay together. So, you have nothing amongst your siftings, actually. Goodbye. I love this thing's voice. I wish it played a bigger part or could come back at some point. It might. Who knows? Fun fact, in most localizations, this character is called Lucifer. Also, yeah, it's an It's. Nice! Dude, Splatoon's so fucking cool. Hell yeah. I think Splatoon should liberate itself from Nintendo. Guess what, 8? The hack I'm calling Risky Rewards is finally ready for you. The fewer hacks you have active when you clear the Spire of Order, the more pearls you get. Up to 3 times as many, in fact. But you do have to clear it. Watch out partway through, no pearls for you. Once you get the hang of clearing the Spire and think you don't need help with it, give this hack a try. So you can actually deactivate them as well. Okay, can you? Oh, you can. Interesting. Cool, cool, cool. All the programs, including the smallest, use it's. Nice. Let's see. So we got some new stuff. Attack damage. That's obviously a nice one. Reveal this boss. Wall. Vending machine discount. That's nice. Get a vending machine. Okay. Risky rewards. The fewer hacks that are active, the more pearls you get for killing Spire, up to ×3. However, if you don't kill the Spire, you get nothing. Existing hacks can be freely adjusted. Thank you. Risky rewards isn't really worth it in my opinion. Once you get the ability to go for monocolor runs, they pay out way better. I don't know what that means. Let's get a life, even though I didn't need it. I guess I didn't need it. I guess I didn't need an extra life. I'm fine. I'm awesome and cool. But, okay, I'm not gonna do a run now, so I don't really need to bother with that right now. Let's just, get some stuff, and read some diaries, and then we'll talk about whether or not we're gonna continue this. Site orderly reveler, okay, cool. Even here, we stay off the hook. Do they have text for all of them? No, so sad. Oh wait, they all have dialogue. Hold on. Order was vicious, but we're no sludges ourselves. I always knew Aiden Pro could do it, and so we returned to the real world, happily ever after. Wasn't that little order cute? I wonder where it went. Ha ha ha. Don't worry about it. That's the last we'll see of that creep, I bet. And if not, then 8 Marina, 8 and me are gonna fry it up all over again. Yeah, no, but I'm sure we won't see it again. I'm sure it's fine. There's a specific piece of dialogue in the first post-game run that I really want you to see. It's great. Maybe, I'm thinking... Because I'm assuming each new run is going to be a little bit easier, right? It's going to be a little bit, like, faster and stuff. So I'm thinking I could do a thing... The clear one has something. Okay, I'll look at that in a moment then. Because I'm thinking if the runs keep getting shorter, then it shouldn't be too hard to do a thing where before every other stream or so, I don't know, I first do a run of this. Just like one run where we like do one palette, you know? Because I would like to continue it because it's Splatoon and I love Splatoon. But I don't know if I want to dedicate whole streams to a game I beat and that doesn't have that much. On the other hand, is it different from this point? Isn't it the same as what I've been doing with this stream in the previous one where you just, I don't know, we do runs? I guess it's the same. I don't know what to do. I think I might make it a poll in the Discord, you know? Just like, do we still do entire streams for this, or do we do one run before other streams? Could play it in Discord. I also thought about doing that, but I feel like I'm gonna forget about that. It's good for me to have it on a schedule, you know? You can do whatever your heart desires. I don't know what my heart desires, Mai. I don't know, it's not that easy. Man. Okay, we read this one. Did not read this one yet. Damn, 2 years ago. The final weapon might be worth streaming because it's basically hard mode. I would definitely stream that one then, yeah. Do you want to do the poll now or later on Discord? I'll do it on Discord so more people can contribute more easily. They don't have to like be here right now. They can just do it at their leisure, you know? Anyway, yeah, I'll do a poll about whether to continue this as a series or make it a small thing I do before or after other streams. So 2 years ago from Arena, we're busy prepping for a world tour. Seems like we never run out of things to take care of. There aren't many hills Pearl cares enough to die on, but when it comes to music, she gets real serious. I take her music seriously too, and sometimes we both feel so strongly about something that it turns into a fight. That part's never fun. But when it comes to our art, we have to be true to ourselves. No compromises. Oh, speaking of the tour, Pearl let me know we're taking Agent 8 with us. Yay! Agent 8 seems pretty psyched to join up. If we're this busy now, wait until the tour actually starts. We'll need all the help we can get, so this is a big relief. I know we can count on Agent 8. Aw, this is their roadie. That's cute. Now I can put all my energy into making new songs. The power! Project Memverse? Update. I finished a prototype of the virtual world I'm tentatively calling the Memverse. All that's there for now is a recreation of Inkopolis Square. The idea is for it to be a temporary storehouse for memories. I'm still struggling with the bigger job of extracting data from Kamaboko's systems. It's tougher than I thought. I kind of feel like the final cutscene... I mean, I can't say that for sure yet, but I feel like the final cutscene would have had more weight if I had read more of these before beating it, you know? On that picture, look at the post-it note of the bottom left for Yuri. Oh, yay! Oh my gosh! That's cute, with the little heart. I love that. They're so gay. They're so gay. So awesome, so good. Also the little squishies at the top of the monitor. That's them too. Nice. I love these characters. Ooh, I got a sticker. Thank you. Alright, so I had to look at my palette, someone said. It is golden. Oh. Oh my god, it's Smollusk.
This is who Marina, I'm one in charge of member security? This unflappable, free-spirited so-and-so, I would never abide it. But no reason such strength should be used to protect the world of Odo. I know the defense force is much cooler than new Squidbix platoon anyway. No one is too good it would be beyond our grasp.
I love how Order before was all methodical and logical and such, and now it's just a fucking little brat. It's so good. It's very, very fun. But this is the end of the stream. This might not be the end of Splatoon 3 Side Order on the channel. That remains to be seen. I'm on the coral now. Can I stand on this bit? I don't think I can. Oh, well, I can stand on this bit. Doesn't take much to activate the drone, huh? Or the float. No, I don't think I can stand on that. How interesting. Hello. You look great. Anyway, so yes, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you had a really good time. It was so awesome. The finale was really good. Oh, the coffee shop in Inkopolis Square. Sure, okay, I'll do that and then we'll go. How do I leave? Is this a door? Do I go here? Here? Pressing plus. X maybe you mean? Oh, imagine Inkopolis Square. That's so lame. There's not just like a way to leave like a diegetic in-universe way of doing it? How boring. Anyway. Coffee shop. Yes, we'll all get a round of coffee together. Right, so I'm here. Hello. That's cute. I assume this is a coffee shop that you mean. Yeah, I noticed that he's on the surface. I already saw that. It's cute. Was that what you wanted to show? Hey, Pearl. How do we get out of here again? Oh, easy. Did you see we just... Uh-oh. Marina? Yeah, good for him on getting free. All right, so this has been very fun. So awesome, yay. I'm gonna eat stuff. So exclamation point socials, no, exclamation point links in chat, and you get a link that leads to my little website. It has all my links on it to all the everything and stuff. You can figure it out from there. The Discord is the best place to stay up to date with what I'm gonna do next, because you get an ad here, but you don't have to worry about joining a whole community if you don't want to, because all you get if you join is a stream announcements channel and a channel explaining how to get into full server if you want to, but no pressure at all. My next stream is going to be on Saturday. I'm going to be continuing Signalis. Very, very good, cool. Also gay. It's also gay, which is not at all unimportant. Ew. So yes, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Now, what is our raid message going to be? Please tell me this, chat, because I do not know, and I'm too occupied with figuring out who we're actually going to raid. I'm having a look. Yo, we're raiding Rayspark. I haven't raided them in a while. They are doing an art stream. Yuri, but that's it, yes. We'll make it this. Yuri, blast! That'll be the raid message, I think that's good. So yeah, we're going to raid Ray, who is very nice, very sweet, and a very good artist. Just like me, makes their own models, and they're very, very nice. Or I think actually the model that they're using now, I'm not sure if they made that one. Is that a 2D one or a 3D? I'm not sure. I think it's 2D. Anyway, let me prepare to raid. Come on, there we go. Okay. Alright, so yes, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And I will see you all next time. Oh, and also, yes, in the Discord, we'll... Whoa! Wait, she's drawing a Guild Wars character. I love Guild Wars too. Yes. Anyway, I will be posting in the Discord a poll to decide what we're gonna do with side order. Okay, bye everyone. Goodbye.